Hey y'all, I'm live on Instagram, I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. Hey y'all, hey. So, if you saw hey Sachi, hey Paige. So, if you saw my post on Facebook or Instagram, I said that I'm going to go live and I'm going to be talking about what needs to die in your life so that you can get your Boaz, right? And so, I'm talking about the book of Ruth, but I'm not talking about how you find your husband. Okay, so if you came on here for that, sorry, it's gonna be good, but it's not about you finding your Boaz, but it's really like what does Boaz signify, whether you're single, whether you're married, or whatever the case may be. And so it's been so good, y'all. So last night, hey sis, last night, or even if I could just go back to yesterday, and I'm gonna get into this, and I'm gonna because I don't be trying to be on here long. I got two kids. Just disclaimer: I have a 1 year old and a 5 year old, and my 1 year old just woke up from a late nap. And so at any moment, somebody can run crashing up in this room. And at any moment, somebody can be screaming, yelling. Who knows? They daddy's supposed to be holding it down, but you just never know. So, anywho, and I can't really see the Instagram chat because she said I need my Boaz. Listen, I'm gonna help you out a little bit, but this ain't really about that, but it's gonna really help you, okay? And so yesterday I've been if you in my life group, the Unveiling Women's Life group, then I basically was talking to them about how I'm reading the Bible in chronological order, and God has literally just been blowing my mind as I do this. And yesterday I read all of the book of Ruth, and so it was just so good. All last night I could not go to sleep. I felt like God just kept saying like, oh, tell them this, tell them this. And I'm like, okay. And so I woke up and I'm like, let me tell my husband. And so I'm literally like on fire this morning and I'm telling him, and he's like, wait, what? And I'm just like, yes. I said, I'm going live to that. I created a little graphic in Canva and I'm just going to post it. I don't know when I'm going to go live. I'm going to just go live when the boys chill. And so here we are. Okay. So this is totally random. Hey, EJ. This is totally random, but it's so good. And so, like I said, I've been reading all of the Bible in chronological order, and I'm past Ruth, but I'm talking about Ruth today. And so, here's this story that we've heard. Everybody knows the book of Ruth, right? Everybody know about Ruth and Naomi and Boaz and all the things. And I'm just like, let's take it back to the beginning, okay? Let's take it back to the very beginning of the story. And here we are, like, how many of y'all know Naomi's husband name? Right? I mean, if you got the Bible, then you know his name, but like who really remembers his name? And so and his name is Elimelech. Elimelech. And so it says the title, I'm reading the New King James Version. So if I'm looking down, I'm looking at the Bible. And if I'm up here, I'm looking at the Bible on the computer. And then if I'm looking down, this is Facebook and YouTube down here. And then if I'm looking up, that's Instagram. I'm trying to get everybody to see. Okay. And so in the first beginning of Ruth 1, hi, Miss Singleton. It talks about Elimelech and how his family goes to Moab. And so from the very beginning, these people are people who are prepared people. So Naomi's family, her husband, and her two sons, they're prepared. There's a famine in their land, and they're literally traveling to this foreign land, Moab, right, to kind of escape the famine that's currently happening in their land. And so for me, how many times like is a natural disaster coming and we're ready to like dip, right? You and your whole household, y'all ready like, oh, we're gonna just go ahead and go somewhere else until we straight over here again, and then we'll come back, right? Hey, Joffrey. And so Elimelech, him and his family, they're prepared. They go to Moab, and you hear this story of them being there, and then it's like, okay, immediately they're like, oh, let's get my sons married, right? To these Moab women, which really isn't like custom for them to do, being Israelites or whatever. So here they are. They marry their sons to these Moab women, Orpah, Orpah, yeah, that's her name, Orpah and Ruth, right? So that's already that one thing that is like, wait, they get married to these Moab women, they serve different gods, all of these different things, and it's like, how long were they even in Moab to begin with? Like, why they get married so quick? And so in my mind, I'm just like, what, they couldn't wait till they went back home to get married and all of these stuff. And like, they probably was thinking about their legacy, right? But we know that in the story of Ruth, it doesn't talk about Orpah or Ruth having children by these two men. In fact, they didn't, right? So there was no legacy. But I'm not gonna bring a full circle for y'all this fast, but at the end of the book, we're gonna talk about how, like, in the end, if you know the story, you already know this, but in the end, they actually did, like, it tied into legacy, and their inheritance and all of that stuff was still, secure. And so Naomi's sons, they get married to Orpah and Ruth, and we know that story. And then boom, Elimelech dies. So Naomi ain't got no man no more. Her husband gone. And then her two sons gone. Right? So now Orpah, she a widow. Ruth is a widow. And here we are. And Naomi is like, the Lord undid me wrong. And y'all gonna get the New King James Version, but you're gonna get the EJV, the Ebony James Version. And I'll just read it how I be reading it when I'm reading it. And so I'm from North Memphis, y'all. So I'll try to make this like non-ghetto or hood or however people want to call it. But I'm just going to read it how I be reading it because it be good to me. And so you hear Naomi. Now we're in verse 6 of Ruth chapter 1. And it says, so she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab and go back to her old town because she heard that, everything's back good. It'll be cool for her to go back. Plus, she already had her own land there and all of that stuff. Like, she was just going back. Plus, there was nothing left for her there in Moab because her husband gone, her sons are gone now. And hi, Danny. And so they're all gone. So there's nothing left for her in this place. Plus, back home, it's back good. So she's like, okay, I'm about to go back. Okay. And so, of course, we know the story. She's telling Orpah and she's telling Ruth, and she's like, hey, my husband gone, my son's gone. Y'all go back to your mama house, do your thing. I'm going to give you this blessing. I love you. Thank you so much for being so good to me and honoring me and the dead, and your dead husbands, right? And then she was like, but, go back, go home, go to your mama house. And so at first they were like, wait, both of them, come on now, because we only hear the part that Orpah dipped, right? But at first, Orpah wasn't just like, okay, bye, girl, say less, right? She was just like, no. They said they both cried out. And they were like, no, we're going to go with you and all of this stuff, okay? And so then she was like, the Lord's going to deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest each into the house of her husband. And so she kissed them and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, surely we coming with you and your people. We gonna be with your people, And so that was the first time. Because I was counting. I'm just like, you ain't got too many times to dismiss me before I'm dipping, right? But that's our problem now, okay? Hey, Kashana. Hey, babe. And so she was like, go ahead and do your thing. And they like, no, we coming with you. But then Naomi said for the second time, she was like, no, turn back, my daughters. Why you coming with me? Is there any sons in my womb? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, now Naomi, she's getting real, sassy. Like, girl, we know it ain't no sons in your womb because your husband did, right? And so she's like, are there any sons in my womb that they may go be your husbands? Turn back, go, for I am too old to have a husband. And if I did have hope, are you going to wait until they grown and marry them then? Are you going to wait that long for a man? And so that's the second time. And I'm just like, in my mind, in our carnal minds, and when we get in our emotions, it was like we would have got offended. Because here's the thing, okay? Naomi, she can serve as a natural mom. She can serve as a mother-in-law. She can serve as a spiritual mother, whatever it is for you, right? And how many times do we let people get smart with us, try to dismiss us or tell us to do something, and we're like, no, and we're trying to be nice and kind. They're like, no. We're going to follow you wherever you go. Surely your people going to be my people and all of this stuff. And she's like, what I got left for y'all? Ain't no more sons in my womb, so what you want from me, right? And maybe she wasn't saying it like this, but when I read it, that's how she said it. And so she's like, no, go back or whatever. And they like, she said, it grieves me. This is Naomi talking. She said, it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. So Naomi, she's in her feelings, she's in her emotions, she's grieving. She just lost, not only did she lose her husband, but she also left her 2 sons. And so she's feeling some type of way, and she should be like, she's in grief, right? And so, when sometimes you feeling some type of way, you hurt, you're grieving, you may come off as a little like dismissive, a little sarcastic, whatever the case may be, because you're just really hurting and it may come out wrong. So Orpah and Ruth, they had every right to get offended, right? The Bible says don't be easily offended, okay? And so they could have got offended with her and been like, girl, since you acting like that, you right. The Lord is against you, okay? Like, that's how they could have been. And us, when we in our feelings, that's how we be with people, right? Whether it be, authority figures, whether it be our friends, a spouse, a boo, or whatever, it's like people don't got a lot of opportunities to talk crazy to you. And so she's like, the Lord has gone out against me. And it says they lifted up their voices and wept again, okay? But this time, Orpah said, listen, you only got 2 times with me. And she was like, she kissed her mother-in-law and she dipped, right? She went back, and then you never heard of Orpah again after this point, right? And it's like, man, how quick are we? Not saying Orpah was offended or whatever. This is just me. Y'all just got to flow with me, right? I'm not saying Orpah was offended or none of this stuff, but how quick are we to be like, okay, you ain't got to tell me twice. I'm out of here. At first I was ready to ride with you, but then, if you're going to keep telling me to go on somewhere, go about my business, then bye, right? But it says Ruth clung to her. Ruth was like, no, I'm staying. And it says Naomi looked at Ruth and was like, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her little G gods. Go and return with her. But Ruth said, y'all know the story. We always know this part, but we usually skip over like this first line. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you. In my mind, I was like, listen, stop tempting me to leave you, because you got one more time and I'm gone. Okay? That's how we be, right? You got one more time and I'm out of here. And so she's like, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. This is Ruth. And it's like, and then we know this part because we don't read that first part. Entreat me not to leave you or turn back away from following you. It's like, listen, this is the EJV, right? Like, listen, stop tempting me to leave. I said I'm with you. I told you I'm a rider. No matter what, no matter who else, I don't care that she gone. That's her. That's on her. She missed out, right? But I'm going to continue to follow you. And it says, and we all know this one, for wherever you go, I'm going. Your people shall be my people, and your big G God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. And so at this point, Ruth has made a covenant with Naomi, right? And we listen, here's in our flesh, if we hear somebody say that in these days, we're like, oh, cult. It's a cult. Ruth is in a cult. She said, if anything but death parts you and me. And that's why some of us ain't got our Boaz, because we hollering about something to cult. You over here struggling. You ain't no fruit hanging from your tree, and you hollering about something else is a cult. And look at, we know the story of Ruth. Ruth was not lacking, right? Because Ruth understood covenant. Ruth understood, like, I know you feeling some type of way. I know you're dealing with something, but where you go, I will go. I know you have told me 3 times to go ahead and leave, but I am committed. I am dedicated. I will not leave from here, right? Because Ruth understood the assignment, okay? Nobody understood the assignment like Ruth. Orpah showed it, right? And Naomi, in her grief, she didn't even understand the assignment, right? And so it says in verse 18 of Ruth chapter 1, when Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she just stopped speaking to her. This is the NKJV. Listen, that's your 4th time, woman. Because, she just gave her the silent treatment. She's like, listen, I saw that she was determined. I just stopped talking to her. I'm not going to keep going back and forth with Ruth. If she want to come and she want to, do her thing, do your thing, Ruth. But don't talk to me. We're going to go over this journey. We're going to go back to, I think it was Judah. We're going to go back to Judah. But just don't talk to me because you ain't listening. Okay? And some of us, in the name of, I'm being obedient, we would have turned back to Moab, to our mother's house, serving those little G gods, and would have been doing our thing, right? But you have to understand, like, process, right? And here's the thing. Ruth had pure motives. Like, she understood that Naomi really couldn't do anything for her, especially as it was concerning the husband. Or at least that's what she thought, right? She was like, well, I know you ain't finna have no more sons for me. And yeah, you probably right. Even if you did, I'm probably not gonna wait for them folks to get my age. Because by the time they my age, I'm gonna be double, my age. And so, like, what they gonna do with me? Okay. And so we know the story. Naomi, she returned to Bethlehem with Ruth the Moabite, or the Moabitess. Okay. And so we all know the story. I'm going to fast forward this. And so Naomi basically tells her, give her strategy, right? So once they return, everyone's like, oh my goodness, Naomi is back. And you know how she is like, don't call me Naomi. Don't call me this because, the Lord has afflicted me. He's turned away from me and all this stuff, she's angry with God, but yet she's still like giving strategy. So even though she's upset, she's grieving, she's angry, or whatever the case, whatever emotion she's feeling, she's still a wise woman, and she's still a woman of administration, a woman of strategy. Listen, while you're in your waiting process, or when you're feeling whatever type of feels about whatever, stay a woman of wisdom. Continue to be a woman of strategy. And because we see, if Naomi wasn't a woman of wisdom and strategy, she would have never told Ruth what to do next, right? And so she was like, there was a relative of Naomi's husband, a man of great wealth of the family of Elimelech. His name was Boaz. So Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, please let me go to the field and glean heads of grain after him, in whose sight I may find favor. And she said to her, go, my daughter. And she left and went and gleaned, and we know that story. And so even with Ruth, because Naomi was a woman of strategy, but then Ruth was a woman who was committed. She was a woman of like, she was this woman who was like, I'm a woman of valor. I'm a woman of what's the word I'm looking for? Come to me. She was a woman who was honorable. She was a submissive woman. She wasn't trying to take control and, do whatever she wanted to do. She was submissive to Naomi. And this is Ruth. She was submissive and she was obedient, right? She basically asked for Naomi's permission to even go out into the field to glean. And she was like, go, my daughter. And so she left and went. And even throughout that story, Naomi keeps giving her the strategy. Even when she was like, listen, he gonna be on the threshing floor, girl. Go lay at his feet, uncover his feet. She gave her all the keys, right? And we see her walk into the blessing. That's why it's important. Hey, princess. hey Shayna, that's why it's so important to have wise counsel. That's why it's so important to be obedient when someone gives you the strategy, because it's one thing to have the keys, it's one thing to have the strategy, but it's another thing to implement and to act on it, right? It's another thing to be obedient and obey the word that you were given. And so we find that Ruth was a woman who was obedient. She was honorable. She was virtuous, right? And we even hear Boaz call her that later on. And so, of course, I'm here and I'm talking, let me pull up the title because it ain't on none of these screens. What needs to die in your life so that you can get your Boaz? And so I got that title off of, Ruth chapter 1 in the beginning, right? Because here's the thing. If Elimelech and Naomi's two sons, their names were, what are their names? Chilion and Mahlon. If they didn't die, we would have never heard of Boaz. You understand what I'm saying? Like, what needs to die in your life so that you can get your Boaz? And for you, Boaz may not be a husband. For you, Boaz may be a job, a career, a certain amount of money, prosperity. Boaz may be peace. Boaz may be joy. What needs to die in your life for you to even be able to go through a process to get what Boaz is for you? Right? And so a lot of times we're just focused on the husband when we're talking about this story, but we're not talking about the process. What process are you willing to go through? Are you willing to endure to even get to that end result, whatever that end result for you? Boaz is the end result, right? So ask yourself that, like, what do I need to cut off, right? Because in this process, there's a lot of things. You got to cut off something. Something has to die. Right? Even when we're going through a pruning process, like, we got to cut off the old so the new can come to make room for the new. And then if you think about the rest of that process, it's like, are you even submitted to wise counsel? If someone gives you the keys and the wisdom and the strategy, are you obedient? Are you a woman of honor? Are you even a woman? Like, what is your character like? Right? Because not once did we see that Ruth was a woman of bad character. It never said that. So her character was already intact. It said she was a virtuous woman. Are you a virtuous woman? Me and my husband, we were talking about something. We stay talking, y'all. We both work from home and we always in each other's face and talking about something. And so we were talking about, I was telling him about something I had seen on social media about this woman who was on vacation, and she basically was like soliciting Instagram to find the guy who she was with on vacation. And lo and behold, this was a married man or whatever, and his wife actually DM'd her. And so I was telling him about that story, and he was like, it reminded him of a story about this woman who she ended up like being in some hotel room or sleeping with some pastor. And she basically, when he went to sleep, she basically went live or something like that, he was saying, and in the name of exposing the pastor. Not realize she exposing herself. Right. Now you just expose yourself as a Jezebel. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what I'm coming to talk about. Are you a virtuous woman? You're trying to get this Boaz or this end result, and it's like, what is your character like? Are you like Ruth? Like, oh, listen, I know you saying I can do this, but I know I need to be doing this. No, I'm going to follow you. Like, how are you at keeping covenants? Right? Are you a woman of covenant? Because if you're not even a woman of covenant, like, you know what I'm saying? So these are the things we should be asking ourselves, and stop just thinking about the end result, the Boaz, because we idolize the Boaz. We idolize the career. We idolize the big family, the big house. We idolize getting our dream job, our dream career. We idolize making a certain amount of money. We idolize the end result, but we don't want to go through that process. Who finna be walking around like, oh, yes, Lord, you can kill my husband. You can kill my children. Like, nobody's going to say yes to that, right? We don't want to go through that. Nobody wants to go through losing a loved one in order to get an end result. Who? Name somebody. And so you have this process that you have to go through, and they had to endure, right? You can have whatever feelings you want to have, but you still have to be willing to endure. And so this Bible just flipped its own little pages. So let me go back and let's keep it going. And so we have the story, and that's all in Ruth chapter 1. And then Ruth chapter 2, that's when she met Boaz, and Naomi gave her the keys to that whole situation. And then here's the thing. In Ruth chapter 3, it says Ruth's redemption assured, okay? And so Naomi gives her some more strategy on, and that's when she's telling her, like, to, go to the threshing floor, lay at his feet, uncover his feet, and all of that stuff. And so in the beginning, I was saying how, when Elimelech and Naomi and their 2 children went to Moab, I was like, well, why would they even have their sons marry Moabites? Why would they have them marry women who they know were serving different gods and all of these things? And it's like, and I was like, well, maybe it was because of legacy. Maybe they knew that, back home it wasn't looking too good. Maybe they were trying to, get their legacy started. And it's like, but they couldn't have, like, they didn't know that they weren't expecting to die off. And so I love how God shows us this story of redemption, even when it comes to legacy and inheritance, because we know in chapter 3, when Ruth goes and do all of these things and lay at his feet, Boaz is like, wait, just stay here, until morning. But, even Boaz was a man of, like, honor. He was like, because he could have took advantage of Ruth. He could have been like, yeah, girl, what you said, I'm about that life. Let's do this, right? He could have went ahead and took her as his wife, but there was a custom, and he wasn't the next of kin to be able to purchase this land or redeem this land that Naomi was selling, right? And so he was like, well, there's somebody else that, got first dibs on this. And so I'm going to go and ask him, if he's willing to buy the land. And if so, he'll make his decision. But if not, I will. This is Boaz talking. And so we know the story. Boaz, he goes to the guy. And not only, like, Boaz was wise. He wasn't just doing stuff, like, impulsively or nothing like that. So it says that Boaz, he went to the kinsmen, and he also called the elders too, right? He needed witnesses, because what he was finna do, he don't need you going back on some, I did not say that, none of that, okay? And so we know the story. Boaz was like, okay, I need you, like, you're next up to buy this land from Naomi, but you also gotta buy the land or whatever it was from Ruth, so we can keep the inheritance of Elimelech and his sons, inside the family or whatever. And so the guy was like, at first he would have been like, he was like, yeah, if it was just Ruth, but Boaz was like, but also if it was Naomi, but he was like, but also Ruth too. And he was like, well, yeah, I can't redeem that. And he was like, so you can have it, right? And so Boaz was able to, redeem all of that. And of course, he was like, I'm also going to take Ruth as my wife and all of the stuff. And so they did the little sandal custom thing that they had going on. And that's the story of how Ruth got her Boaz. But there was a whole process in the midst of that. It talked a lot to, are you honorable? It talked a lot to, are you going to be steadfast? Are you willing to endure hardship? Are you willing to do someone telling you, like, go, get away from me, go back to your people, go serve your gods, right? Are you willing to endure when things get hard? Or are you going to just run away? Are you going to give up? And it's like, what needs to die in your life? Is it pride that needs to die in your life so that you can get that end result, or that Boaz, or that whatever it is for you? What is it? Do you need to kill fear? Maybe fear needs to die in your life. Maybe it's, whatever it is, you can ask God what it is for you. I ain't even gonna try to figure out what it could be, because I don't even know who on here, first of all. But it's like, what needs to die in your life so that you can even start the process of getting this end result, right? Is it you need to get some humility? What could it be for you? And that's something we have to think about, because we talk a lot about honor in this scripture. We talk about being virtuous, being committed. We talk about, listen, I don't care what you say, how sarcastic you get with me, how angry I get with how you talk to me. I am going to be committed till the very end. It says, Ruth said, until death do us part. That's something you usually hear, a man and a woman say when they getting married. Not a daughter and a mother say. But Ruth understood covenant. Ruth understood all of these things, and because of that, she was blessed. And then we know at the end of Ruth 4, it talks about the genealogies of like now Boaz and her. They had Obed had Jesse had David, and then we know, that's the genealogy of Jesus. And so, y'all, this is just so good. And it's like, even through all of that, Elimelech and his two sons, their inheritance and their legacy still lived on, right? And we don't hear about them after that. We know of Boaz, but it's like when you understand or read the whole story for yourself, you're like, man, somebody was in the spirit to have Milan. What I say the guy's name was? Million. One of the sons, Million, someone was in the spirit to have him marry Ruth, because all of this played out. Because again, like, why would they marry them? And so that's all I have for y'all. It was good. It was so good. Hey, Tyrone Smith. Hey, Mrs. James. Sell Mr. James, Mr. Smith. Hi, Mr. Smith. Say hello. I would tell Darius, he's on Instagram, so I would definitely tell him that you said hello. And so, yeah, that's all I had, y'all. That's usually, so, because I just wanted to come and talk about that because it was so good to me and I couldn't go to sleep. And it's like, usually when we read the book of Ruth, that literally is, we're reading it from a perspective of like, how can I find my Boaz? How can I find my husband? What I need to do to be like Ruth. I'm trying to be like Ruth. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? Because she ain't just find any kind of man. Like, he was a man of wealth. He was a man of honor. He understood. And so I would challenge you all to read Ruth chapters 1-4. I mean, it ain't that long, and read it in its entirety and really see, like, man, am I willing to go through the process? Am I willing to endure? Do I lack commitment? Do I give up easily? Am I struggling with a spirit of pride that needs to be killed in my life so that I can prosper, so that I can, live this life of the way God promised me, a life of joy, a life of peace? But we have to be willing to endure. So I just want to encourage you all to endure to the end. I want to encourage you all to, when you're making covenants or when you're even going into covenants, like, keep them, right? Like, it's okay. Covenants are biblical. All throughout the Bible, you see where people were making covenants to God or to other people. And you see so many biblical covenants being made in the Bible. And so go through the process, stick it to the end, no matter what you face. Listen, things may be looking bad right now. Naomi wasn't thinking ahead when she was telling, like, go about your business, go back home to your mother's house. She wasn't thinking like, well, I can go back home and then Boaz and maybe I can get Ruth. She wasn't thinking about all that right now. Sometimes we only look at what's in front of us, right? I just lost my husband. I just lost my two sons. Like, the Lord, he ain't even with me. The Lord has forsaken me. Like, sometimes we get like that. We start asking questions like, why, Lord? Why? Why me? What did I do? Right? Why have you left me? And so Naomi was in that moment. It's like we can get stuck there and we can miss out because we know that Naomi was even blessed by Ruth and Boaz's marriage. It says even when Ruth had Obed, she basically gave it back to Naomi, right? And it said Naomi nursed him. And so, like, not only because it's not even really about you. Honestly, it's really not about you. It's like what's coming next in the future, decades down the line that you're not even thinking of right now. But you have to be willing to endure. You have to be willing to stick through it. And so I just leave y'all with that because I'll start rambling and start talking to y'all about nothing. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or leave them on here. Somebody want to go live with me, I can just be talking. Y'all want to go live with me, y'all can add it on here. But if you just hopping on, we basically talk about what needs to die in your life. What process are you willing to go through to get your Boaz? And Boaz, not as in just your husband, but any end result that you've been praying for, that you've been desiring, and all of those things. We've been talking about being women who are honorable, being women who are virtuous, being women of good character, being women who stick to our commitments, being women who are covenant keeping women, who don't flee when things get hard. We don't flee in the face of what's the word I'm looking for? In the face of I was offended by that person. Like, we are talking about all of those things. So thank you all for joining me for however long I've been on here running my mouth. Like I said, before I go, on the 2nd of every month this year, I'm doing the Unveiling Women's Life Group. So we had our first one on February 2nd, and it was so amazing. The flyer is somewhere on my Instagram page. It may be on Facebook somewhere too. But on March 2nd, we're doing the second one. And y'all, God has already been talking to me about what we're talking about. And I don't even want to really give it away to y'all, but it's real good. And so it's totally free. It's March 2nd at 7:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join me and all of the other women who are online with me, it's on Zoom. You don't have to have your face on there or nothing like that. Hey, Kim. Hey, Whip Creations. You don't have to have your face on Zoom or anything like that. I would love for you all to come and join me and hang out with us. It's literally prayer. It's Bible study. It's girl chat. It's going to be interactive. We're journaling. We're worshiping. We're literally just out here seeking God together. We're literally doing 2 Timothy 2:22. Fleeing youthful lust and pursuing righteousness, peace, love, joy, faith, all of those things with those who call out on the name of the Lord out of a pure heart. And so I would encourage you all to join me. Not only that, I also have a podcast called the Girl Get Your Voice Podcast, Girl Get Your Voice Back podcast. And we're doing a lot of dismantling condemnation, shame, fear, limiting beliefs and mindsets and all of those things. So we can get our voices back. We talked about Deborah on the first life group this month, February 2nd. And we just talked about in what scripture? Judges something, I think it was verse 7. And one of the chapters in Judges, verse 7, we talked about how Deborah, it was the one where it's talking about Deborah's song. And it was like, all of this stuff was happening until I arose. And I'm not even going to get excited about that again. But what I'm doing with these life groups and with my podcast, I'm trying to help women be all who God called them to be. Arise, right? Arise in good character. Arise in faith. Arise in boldness. Arise and be who he called you to be. And do what he's called you to do. And to be radically obedient. To be women who are full of faith. Women who are full of love. Women who are on fire for Jesus and really just want him above all other things, above all else. Women who just want him. So definitely join me. The link to register, like I said, it's free, but I want you to register just so I can know who's coming, because it's literally like this very tight-knit community, and we want it to be a safe space so women can feel free to be vulnerable, to be transparent, so they can grow and heal and be restored and be delivered from all the stuff the enemy is trying to throw at them and all of that good stuff. So you register for the life group at www.ebonydjames.com/life group. For the life group is /life group. And it's in my bio and Instagram. And then also for the podcast, the 4th episode was released last week. And so you can find that on my website, www.ebonydjames.com/girl get your voice back. And yeah, I think that's about it. Y'all be randomly doing stuff, but it's all out of obedience. So I encourage you all to join me for life group next month on April Nope, on March 2nd. And then also the next podcast is dropping soon. And we're talking about resisting the urge to shrink. So if you've been shrinking in any area of your life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's in motherhood, whether it's in business, your career, whether it's in speaking, whether it's in whatever area, listen, we're talking about resisting the urge to shrink. That podcast, I don't have the date that is going to be released, but between, I ain't gonna say tomorrow, I don't even know what tomorrow is. Between Friday and Monday, the next episode is dropping on the Girl Get Your Voice Back podcast because they come in weekly. I already got topics for days, and I'm just waiting for the Lord to tell me which one to release. So we releasing it. We're being obedient. We're being women of faith in this season. We are not playing with the enemy in 2022. We are not backing down. We are coming hard as he be coming for us. We coming back even harder. So join me, guys. As we grow, it's literally not about me. It's literally about women being set free, on fire for God, healed and delivered. And so I'm gonna get out here because I'm just talking. So I love you all. Good night. Reach out to me, connect to me. If we've never met and you're on my live, hit me up in my DMs. Let's talk, girl. Let's get it on and let's get it popping. All right. Period. As my sis said, period. All right, bye, y'all. Let me get off here. Goodbye.